Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. This is Satya, and I'm here with my friend Bhakti Mimulus. It's Friday night in Bhaktiville, and that's when we read Srimad Bhagavatam. So as a review, in our last reading last week, Narada Muni began to tell his story about his life as a boy. While living with his mother, they both served some Munis, or saints, who were staying nearby during the rainy season. He spoke about the importance of being near, getting instruction from, and serving saintly people. Both Bhakti Mimulus and I were struck by a sentence that Srila Prabhupada wrote in one of the purports. Quote, "The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord, and therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual abode by the divine grace of the Lord's servant." End quote. We are very fortunate to have these instructions from our Guru, Srila Prabhupada. Let's continue our teaching and reading, isn't it? So tonight we're on Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 25, and you'll find that on page 289 of the PDF or 257 of the book. So, but before we get going, we always sing these verses that are up on the board. Not yet on the board, but they will be in a second. There. Nope. I'll do it. There it is. Okay. Here we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. When Prabhupada used to sing this verse, he would say Basudev, like the V became a B. So Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Anyway, next one. Oh, my computer, there it goes. All right, the next one. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Next one. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha vidyantasto yabadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. There was a question a couple weeks ago. Let's go back to the second verse. There was a question a couple weeks ago about this verse. Why are we? Yes, about Narayana. So Narayana is another name of Vishnu, and for Srila Prabhupada, when he speaks about Vishnu, it's synonymous with Krishna. But one of the questions was Narayana Rishi. So I looked that up, and I have some notes here. Narayana Rishi was a Shaktyavesha avatar. So he was an empowered jiva. So let me just read some quotes here. So Srimad Bhagavatam 12.4.41, long ago, this essential anthology of all the Puranas was spoken by the infallible Lord Narayana Rishi to Narada, who then repeated it to Krishna Dvapayana Veda Vyasa. And then again, in 441.59, or actually that was before the other one, 441.59, the verse is, that Narayana Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna, respectively, to mitigate the burden of the world. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Nara is a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Thus, the energy and the energetic together are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maitreya, and this is part of the story where they are in this quote, Maitreya informed Vidura that Nara, the portion of Narayana, had appeared in the family of the Kurus and that of Narayana, the plenary expansion of Krishna, had come as Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, with the purpose of delivering suffering humanity from the pangs of material burdens. In other words, Narayana Rishi was now present in the world in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna. Bhakti Mimulus says in the chat, so a lot like Radha and Krishna. Yes, except that Radha and Krishna are the divine couple, but Arjuna is a jiva like you and I, an empowered jiva, and he's saying in his purports here that Narayana Rishi is an empowered jiva, a Shaktavish avatar. And often people say that Srila Prabhupada is also a Shaktavish avatar, an empowered jiva, empowered by Krishna to spread the word, as it were, about bhakti. So also in that verse, yes, that makes sense. So also in that verse, let me just try and clear up all the references in there. Mother Saraswati, who's the goddess of learning, we should always want her blessings, and to Srila Vyasadeva, who compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in our tradition, generally we pay our obeisances and ask for the blessings of our sampradaya for all of the teachers that we currently have and the teachers who have been with us previously. So that's part of what's going on here. Bhakti Mimulus says in chat, that's what a devotee told me about Jesus once, but he thought a pure devotee was higher. I refused to make such a declaration. He thought that a pure devotee was higher than Jesus. Yes, no, they're the same. Jesus was a pure devotee, definitely. Look at all of the work that yes, a Shaktivish avatar. Yes, definitely. The work that he continues to be doing. Absolutely. Here, let me put this, the spelling of this in chat. Oops. Shaktiavesh avatar. Yeah, Shaktiavesh. Vesh is a body, so, or a covering, Shabdavesha Avatar. All right, so I think we've covered that. So now I think we're clear about this particular verse when we chant it. And like I said, before we start reading or before we start any kind of meeting of devotees, we generally offer obeisances to our gurus and to previous gurus and, everybody everywhere. And then, of course, we offer our obeisances to each other. So with that in mind, let me do that. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. And please accept my humble obeisances, all the devotees here. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. All right, so let us start off with this reading now. So we are on page 289 of the PDF or 258 of the book, and we're on Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 25. So we're actually on 258 because we're going to not read the Devanagari. We'll read the transliteration. All right, you with me, Bhakti Mimulus? Okie doke. All right, call and response. Uchishtalepan Anumodito Dvijai. Uchishtalepan Anumodita Dvijai. Sakritsma Bunjetad Apasta Kilbishaha. Sakritsma Bunjetad Apasta Kilbisaha. Evam Pravittasya Vishuddha Chetasas. Evam Pravittasya Vishuddha Chetasas. Tadharma Evatmaruchi Prajayate. Tadharma Evatmaruchi Prajayate. All right, all together. Uchishtalepam Anumodito Dvijay. Sakritsma Bunjitad Apasta Kilbishaha. Evam Pravittasya Vishuddha Chetasas. Tadharma Evatmaruchi Prajayate. That Kilbisha, I wanted to keep saying Kilbasa. Like, no, it's Kilbisha. Okay. Uchishtalepan, the remnants of foodstuff. Anumoditaha, being permitted. Dvijai, by the Vedantas Brahmanas. Sakrit, once upon a time. Sma, in the past. Bunje, took. Tat, by that action. Apasta, eliminated. Kilbishaha, all sins. Evam, thus. Pravrittasya, being engaged. Vishuddha Chetasa, of one whose mind is purified. Tat, that particular. Dharma, nature. Eva, certainly. Atma Ruchihi, transcendental attraction. Prajayate, was manifested. And the verse in English, the translation. So again, this is Narada Muni talking to Vyasadeva, telling a little bit of his history as a child. So once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. So I have a great story, but I'll read this purport first. Purport. Pure devotion is as much infectious, in a good sense, as infectious diseases. A pure devotee is cleared from all kinds of sins. The personality of Godhead is the purest entity, and unless one is equally pure from the infection of material qualities, one cannot become a pure devotee of the Lord. The Bhaktivedantas, as above mentioned, were pure devotees, and the boy became infected with their qualities of purity by their association, and by eating once the remnants of the foodstuff taken by them. Such remnants may be taken even without permission of the pure devotees. There are sometimes pseudo-devotees, and one should be very much cautious about them. There are many things which hinder one from entering devotional service. But by the association of pure devotees, all these obstacles are removed. The neophyte devotee becomes practically enriched with the transcendental qualities of the pure devotee, which means attraction for the personality of Godhead's name, fame, quality, pastimes, etc. And the etc. means and everything else, all those other things that define Krishna or that we see as Krishna, all of those things, etc. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of pure devotion, always in the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. This transcendental taste at once makes all material things distasteful. Therefore, a pure devotee is not at all attracted by material activities. After the elimination of all sins or obstacles on the path of devotional service, one can become attracted, one can have steadiness, and one can have perfect taste, one can have transcendental emotions, and at last one can be situated on the plane of loving service of the Lord. All these stages develop by the association of pure devotees, and that is the purport of this stanza. So I have lots of little things to say about this. So I had this friend who was here when Srila Prabhupada was here, and she was in the pujari room, and Prabhupada, they took food up to Prabhupada, and they had, a little pile of salt and a little pile of pepper on the plate so that he could add seasoning as he thought needed. And so anyway, the plate came down, and they emptied the plate, and she and her friend stood there and ate all of the pepper all at once. I can't even imagine doing that, but she said it was the most wonderful thing. They just, stuck their finger in the pepper and put it in their mouth and just kept dabbing the pepper and eating the pepper over and over, and she said it was absolutely delicious. So just to say, even the pepper, even the spices on the plate are okay. I mean, they're remnants, and you can be infected by those qualities of purity just in that. What'd you say? She was smart. I know. Whenever I hear that story, she likes to tell it, so I like to hear it. But whenever she tells it, I'm like, ooh, pepper. I'm like, ooh. Let me turn off my computer so it's not making noise at me. So that's that story. And so then there's the thing about pseudo-devotees. So pseudo-devotees, how can you tell? So they're people who are following, they're doing all those things, you think devotees should do, but they aren't, you don't see it. Like, oh, they're chanting 16 rounds, oh, they're doing all this stuff, but they're really just not very nice people. So don't listen to those people. And then there are the people who are who know all the everything, who can shloka till the world ends. They can quote and do all these things, but they aren't following. Don't listen to those people either. You want people who are doing both. You want people who are following, and you want people who are exhibiting those qualities of a devotee. So when he says here, pseudo devotees, one should be very much cautious about them. It's a fact. And it's incumbent on you, the person who is listening to them and who is listening to me, that you should always keep that in the forefront of your mind when you're listening to people, to devotees, and make sure that those things are present in them while they're speaking. And then you can imbibe, you can listen to what they're saying and take it to heart. And then towards the end of this, Prabhupada talks about one can be attracted and have steadiness. Nishta is that steadiness, that unshakable resolve. And ruchi is taste. One can have perfect taste, ruchi. And one can have transcendental emotions. So that's bhava, that transcendental emotion. And then prema, of course, is situated on the plane of loving service. So these are all stages, but do they go up like stairs? Well, yes and no. You can go up and down those stairs. You can see the stairs. You can understand the stairs. You can have a little bit of bhava. You can have a little bit of prema, and not be completely unshakable. Completely caught up. Completely resolved with nishta. So I think it's important to know those things, that those things are there and they're available, and that you can taste those things. You can experience those things, even though you aren't this, perfect, pure devotee who's gotten rid of all of their material emotion, all of their desires, all of your material desires. So just, again, incumbent on you to know these kinds of things, so that you don't sweep it away, or you say, oh, I exhibited prema, I'm a pure devotee. No, you had a little taste. Do you see your question above? Oh, how can there be pure and purest? No, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Pure and purest. Pure and purest. I'm not. How can you be more pure than pure? Oh, yeah, no. Once you're there, you're there. I mean, it's that is, yeah, what happens once you reach the top? There's more after that, but that is a transcendental plane. That is a transcendental plane. That is there's more after that. It's not necessarily more pure, but you're there, and now you're experiencing more and more. Does that explain it? There's always more bliss. And as we talked about on Tuesday, a question was raised about the spiritual world sounds really boring. They kind of do the same things over and over. And no, they don't do the same things. Oh, they do similar things like we do. They wake up and, have breakfast and do things. But every day they are enveloped in the love of Krishna. Every day enveloped in that love. It's like if you have a lover, you always want to be with them and do things with them. And they do lots of different things. It's not just herding the cows and making milk sweets and, tripping through the flowers. It's so much more than that. There's lots of intrigue and gossip and teasing and decorating and, hiding things and the hiding away to give things. I mean, there's lots of stuff going on. So there's always more bliss. Yes, always more bliss. But the bliss is that you are enveloped in that prema and you are, ecstatic to be in that. Although Krishna does give the, sidelong glances that may or may not be accepting, and so then you're like, oh no, he doesn't like that. Oh, this is horrible. What can I do? And so there's lots of stuff going on. It's not a single, oh, I'm in bliss kind of thing. They're people, lots of people with lots of things going on and interests and activities, and so always more bliss. Yes, always more bliss. All right, text, are we good? Did I answer those questions, all of those questions? How can there be pure and purest? Yes. Okay, good. All right, text 26. Call and response. Tatran vaham Krishna kata pragayatam. Tatran vaham Krishna kata pragayatam. Anugrahena Shrinnavam. That's a really long word. Manoharaha. Anugrahena Shrinvatam Manoharaha. Ta Shraddhaya me Nupadam Vishrinvataha. Oh, no, aha. Ta Shraddhaya me Nupadam Vishrinvata. Priyashravvasyanga Mama Bhavadruchihi. Priyashravasya Anga Mama Bhavadruchi. All right, the whole thing. Tattavaham Krishna Kata Pragayatam Anugrahena Shrinvanam Manoharaha. Ta Shraddhaya me Nupadam Vishrinvata. Priyashavasyanga Mama Bhavadruchihi. Word for word. Tatra, thereupon. Anu, every day. Aham, I. Krishna Katha, narration of Lord Krishna's activities. Pragayatam, describing. Anugrahena, by causeless mercy. Ashrinvanam, Ashrinnavam, giving oral reception. Mana haraha, attractive. Taha, those. Shraddhaya, respectfully. Me, unto me. Anupadam, every step. So pada is foot. So padam, anupadam. Vishrinvataha, hearing attentively. Priya Shravasi, Priya Shravasi, of the personality of Godhead. Anga, O Vyasadeva. Mama, mine. Bhavat, it so became. Ruchihi, taste. Translation. O Vyasadeva, in that association, and by the mercy, of those great Vedantas, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. Purport. Lord Sri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is not only attractive in his personal features, but also in his transcendental activities. It is so because the absolute, capital A, is absolute, lowercase a, by his name, fame, form, pastimes, entourage, all the people, paraphernalia, all his stuff, etc. The Lord descends on this material world out of his causeless mercy. This displays his various transcendental pastimes. Now, I have to pause here for a moment because the PDF that we're using has 2 duplicate pages. So the next 2 pages are duplicates of what we just read. So let me begin this sentence over again, and I'll skip over these 2 weird pages so that we have some continuity. The Lord descends on this material world out of his causeless mercy and displays his various transcendental pastimes, scrolling, as a human being, so that human beings attracted towards him become able to go back to Godhead. People are naturally apt to hear histories and narrations of various personalities performing mundane activities without knowing that by such association one simply wastes valuable time and also becomes addicted to the 3 qualities of mundane nature. Instead of wasting time, one can get spiritual success by turning his attention to the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. By hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Lord, one contacts directly the personality of Godhead, and, as explained before, by hearing about the personality of Godhead from within, all accumulated sins of the mundane creature are cleared. Thus, being cleared of all sins, the hearer gradually becomes liberated from mundane association and becomes attracted to the features of the Lord. Narada Muni has just explained this by his personal experience. The whole idea is that simply by hearing about the Lord's pastimes, one can become one of the associates of the Lord. Narada Muni has eternal life, unlimited knowledge, and unfathomed bliss, and he can travel all over the material and spiritual worlds without restriction. One can attain to the highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord from the right sources, as Sri Narada heard them from the pure devotees, the Bhaktivedantas, in his previous life. This process of hearing in the association of devotees is especially recommended in this age of Kora, or Kali. And so I do want to comment on this last part, the process of hearing in the association of devotees. So oftentimes it's not possible to be in the association of devotees, but we have now all of these different ways to contact people. You can listen to videos, you can listen to us here in Bhaktiville. At the same time, you're like, yeah, but I'm not really in the association of devotees. But everywhere Krishna is speaking, or Krishna is being remembered or spoken about, all of his associates are there too. So the room can get pretty crowded with all of those devotees in the room. They're all here with us right now, and we have their association, and they will speak to us through our hearts and let us know answers to things and let us know about things, and they will protect us and guard us and help us. So never think that you are alone, and never think, oh, I can't do this because I'm never around devotees. So just think of it that way. You're always around devotees. Bhakti Mimulus says, true, but being in association is very helpful. It can increase faith. That's a fact. So being physically with other physical devotees can be very satisfying. They lift you up, he says. Yes, they lift you up. And you also want to aspire. Oh, I like that. I want to be like that person. That person is such a nice devotee, and I want to be like that. I want to follow what they're saying, do what they say. They're so nice. I want to. Bhakti Mimulus says, I never think like that. They're so funny. But they are very encouraging. Being physically around other physical embodied devotees is very encouraging. It's so funny. I love to read your comments. All right, so, the three qualities of mundane nature. So those things, those are the, and I think he talks about it in another purport, but those are the adhyatmika, those things, those troubling things pertaining to the mind and the body. Adibhaudika, the troubles offered or given by other living entities, and then Adidaivika, the troubles that are given by higher authorities like the wind and the rain and the thunder, natural disaster kinds of troubles. So, so I did want to throw that in there. I think he mentions them a little bit later also. It's so funny. I never think like that. Okay, text 27. Word fa, call and response. Tasmims tada labdarucher mahamate. Tasmims tada labdaruchir mahamate. Priya Shravasya Kalita Matir Mama. So don't forget that most of these, if you're reading along with us, don't forget that consonants followed by an H usually, mostly, are have a breath with them. So aska, it's not ask halita, it's askalita. All right. Yayaham etat sad asat svamayaya. Yayaham etat sad asat svamayaya. Pashemai brahmani kalpitam pare. Pashemai brahmani kalpitam pare. All right, the whole thing all together. Tasmims tada labda ruchir mahamate. Priya Shravasya Askalita Matir Mama. Yayaham etat sad asat svamayaya. Pashemai brahmani kalpitam pare. And the word for word. Tasmin, it being so. Tada, at that time. Labda, achieved. Ruchehe, taste. Mahamate, great sage. Priya Shravasi, upon the Lord. Askalita matihi, uninterrupted attention. Mama, mine. Yaya, by which. Aham, I. Etat, all these. Sat, asat, gross and subtle. Svamayaya, one's own ignorance. Pashe, see. Mai, in me. Brahmani, the supreme. Kalpitam, is accepted. Pare, in the transcendence. Translation. O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. Purport, what a realization, huh? Ignorance in material existence is compared to darkness. And in all Vedic literatures, the personality of Godhead is compared to the sun. Wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. Hearing of the Lord's pastimes is itself transcendental association with the Lord, because there is no difference between the Lord and his transcendental pastimes. That's what I was speaking about just previously. To become associated with the supreme light is to dispel all ignorance. By ignorance only, the conditioned soul wrongly thinks that both he and the Lord are products of material nature. But in fact, the personality of Godhead and the living beings are transcendental, and they have nothing to do with the material nature. When ignorance is removed and it is perfectly realized that there is nothing existing without the personality of Godhead, then nescience is removed. Since the gross and subtle bodies are emanations from the personality of Godhead, the knowledge of light permits one to engage both of them in the service of the Lord. The gross body should be engaged in acts of rendering service to the Lord, as in bringing water, cleansing the temple, or making obeisances, etc. The path of archana, or worshiping the Lord in the temple, involves engaging one's gross body in the service of the Lord. Similarly, the subtle mind should be engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, thinking about them, chanting his name, etc. All such activities are transcendental. None of the gross or subtle senses should otherwise be engaged. Such realization of transcendental activities is made possible by many, many years of apprenticeship in the devotional service, but simply attraction of love to the personality of Godhead, as it was developed by Narada Muni by hearing, is highly effective. So I think we'll stop there. I had so many other things to add to these readings. These are such great readings that we've used up our time tonight. Any questions or comments, Bhakti Mimulus? Nope, no questions, he says. But thanks. Oh, thank you. You're so very welcome. Thank you for letting me read every Friday night. It's such a boon to me to be here, to read this and delve deeper into these purports of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.